Lalita and the Mirror of Authenticity. Once upon a time, in a bustling village surrounded by rolling hills, there lived a young woman named Lalita. Lalita was admired for her kindness and grace, but deep inside she felt a quiet discontent. She spent her days trying to please everyone, adapting her voice, her actions, and even her dreams to match what others expected of her. The villagers often praised her. "Lalita, you're so perfect," they would say. Yet, when she was alone, she felt empty, as if the person they admired wasn't truly her. She often whispered to herself, "Who am I, really?" One evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, a mysterious old woman arrived at the village. She carried a silver mirror wrapped in silk and spoke to the villagers about a place called the Mountain of True Reflection. It is said that those who climb this mountain and gaze into the mirror of authenticity will see their true selves, the woman explained. But beware, the climb is not easy, and the mirror shows not what you wish to see, but who you truly are. Lalita felt her heart stir. She knew she had to make the journey, even if she was afraid of what the mirror might reveal. The next morning, Lalita set out for the mountain. Her journey began in a dense forest where the trees whispered doubts in the wind. "Why are you climbing?" they seemed to say. "You're fine as you are, everyone already loves you." Lalita hesitated. Wasn't that true? Why risk uncovering something she might not like? But then she remembered the emptiness she felt and pressed on, telling herself, "I need to know who I am." As Lalita climbed higher, she came to a wide river. Its waters were restless, filled with voices calling out to her. "Be the perfect daughter," one voice said. "Don't disappoint your friends," said another. "Fit in. Be quiet. Don't stand out," the voices chanted, their currents pulling at her feet. For a moment, Lalita felt paralyzed, the weight of these expectations pulling her down. But then she looked at the river and whispered, "These are not my truths." With steady steps, she crossed the river, leaving the voices behind. Higher up the mountain, Lalita entered a dark cave. Inside, she faced her own reflection, but it was distorted, like a shadowy version of herself. "You can't do this," the shadow sneered. "What if the real you isn't good enough? What if people stop loving you?" Lalita clenched her fists, her heart racing. The shadow's words echoed her deepest fears. But then she remembered the times she had felt joy when she was true to herself, writing stories, singing quietly to herself, and laughing freely with no one watching. "I am enough," Lalita said firmly. The shadow dissolved, and the cave filled with light, guiding her onward. At last, Lalita reached the summit. There, on a pedestal, stood the mirror of authenticity. It glimmered in the sunlight, its surface smooth and inviting. Her hands trembled as she stepped closer. "What if I don't like what I see?" she thought. But she knew she had come too far to turn back. When she finally gazed into the mirror, she saw something unexpected. Herself, but not as she had imagined. She saw a girl who was brave yet sometimes afraid, strong yet vulnerable, kind yet imperfect. She saw someone who didn't always have the answers, but carried a deep longing for truth and connection. The mirror didn't show perfection. It showed her humanity. And for the first time, Lalita felt whole. As Lalita stared into the mirror, she realized what authenticity meant. It wasn't about being flawless or meeting everyone's expectations. It was about embracing every part of herself, the light and the shadow, the joy and the doubt. Authenticity was the courage to live as herself, even if it meant disappointing others or facing discomfort. It was the freedom to say, "This is me," and to know that was enough. Lalita descended the mountain, carrying the lessons of the mirror in her heart. When she returned to the village, she stopped trying to be what everyone wanted her to be. She laughed loudly when she felt like it, spoke her mind even when it was difficult, and pursued the dreams that mattered to her. At first, some villagers were surprised by the changes in her. "You're different, Lalita," they said. But Lalita smiled and replied, "No, I'm just myself." Her authenticity inspired others to embrace their true selves. And the village became a place where people no longer wore masks, but celebrated their individuality. Years later, Lalita often returned to the mountain, not to look into the mirror again, but to reflect on the journey that brought her there. She had found the courage to face herself, and in doing so, she had discovered the peace and freedom of living authentically. And so, Lalita's story became a reminder that the greatest truth we can find is the truth of who we are. Good night, and may Lalita's courage inspire you to embrace your most authentic self.